Hello, thanks for joining us again here at Intelligent Controls. I am Mike, and today I will be talking to you guys all about the low voltage hub from Pylontech. The low voltage hub from Pylontech allows us to extend the capacity of our Pylontech battery banks in the US series of batteries. What I have here in front of us is the US 5000. This series would also contain the US 3000 and the US 2000. Now, as you may know, the US series batteries maxes out at a single string capacity of 16 units. However, utilizing a low voltage hub, we are able to extend that to a total of 96 units, otherwise known as 6 stacks of 16 per. And that gives us a lot of power. With the US 5000 batteries, that is a total of 460.8 kilowatt hours of power, all in communication, all connected through the combiner hub. So, first of all, let's talk about the setup that I have here today. What we have in front of us is two sets of two Pylontech US 5000 batteries. And for the sake of this video, I did not feel like pulling out 96 batteries from their boxes and setting them up. So instead, we're gonna pretend that we have 2 stacks of 16 here. Let's just use our imagination, pretend that there's another 14 batteries underneath each of these stacks. And for the sake of this video, it's not gonna make any difference because hooking them up will be the same. Now, we're about to talk about what comes with the low voltage hub and how we are going to go through the process of setting these batteries up to be combined through it. A note before we go into that, there are 2 sets of cables that I'm going to be working with today that are not included with the low voltage hub should you get it directly from Pylontech. These are something that if you purchase the low voltage hub from us here at Intelligent Controls, I will have already placed in with your hub right here. That way it just makes the installation process easier. If you don't have those, they can be found in the external cable kits also available to purchase from Pylontech. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Here we have the low voltage hub. As you can see, it's got a whole lot of ports, and that is because the low voltage hub is built to be used with a whole bunch of different series of Pylontech batteries. They support RS-485 or CAN bus, and we today will be utilizing the CAN bus protocol of hooking up this low voltage hub. Let's talk about what comes with the low voltage hub in the box. That is the low voltage hub itself, a DC power connector, which allows us to power the low voltage hub. It's got 2 little eyelets that are going to go onto our DC terminals on our inverter, and a little short cable right here. If you purchase this kit from us here at Intelligent Controls, I'm going to have done 2 things already for you. I will have made sure that the firmware is all the way up to date on this hub, which will make sense later in the video when I discuss that, and I'm going to include 2 additional cables. These come with the cable kits for Pylontech, but I wanted to get some extra ones into this box because we will be using them for the install. And those cables are the silver battery to battery cable and the blue tagged battery to inverter cable that once again come with those external cable kits. So let's set up our LV hub and then set up the batteries and then follow a very linear step-by-step process to allow these batteries to activate their communication protocols and work in tandem through the communication hub. So to start out with, what we're going to do is set up the LV hub itself. To start out, we're going to connect our power terminal, which I have already done over there. That is very simple. You just put the eyelets on the DC lugs on your inverter. Next, we take this shorty connector and we're going to go from 0 to CAN in. Finally, we're going to take our inverter communication cable and plug that into the CAN out port on the LV hub. Last, and I'm going to unplug this to show this to you, we're going to make sure that our dip switches are in the proper position. We want everything to be down, moving left to right until we get to that very last dip switch, and that needs to be in the up position. It should come like that from the factory, but if not, that's something to check out. So, now that the hub itself is set up, let's move on to the batteries. These batteries, as we have it currently configured, are in 2 sets with 2 sets of master batteries. So we've got master battery number 1 and master battery number 2. This master battery is going to be our master for the entire setup. And we are going to designate that by how we connect our next communication cable. So we're going to take this longer battery to battery communication cable and we're going to plug it in to the B/RS-485 on this master battery, and then over here into the ACAN port on the other master battery. If we had subsequent stacks, we would then go down the line plugging from that B to the A, from the B to the A, all the way down until we have every single stack hooked up, master battery to master battery. Now that that's taken care of, we can actually go about turning on these batteries. So to start out, let's make sure that all of our power switches are in the on position. Next, we're going to go ahead and push the start button on the master stack. That'll index on its stack. Then we go on to the next stack and push that. Now we're going to take a second and listen. Those 3 beeps from this master battery over here let us know that it has recognized the communication protocol. It understands that it is now the master battery, and it's going to be looking for these subsequent stacks to communicate all their information through it. So now that we've got those turned on, we're going to go ahead and flip a dip switch on this master battery. The batteries automatically come with all of the dip switches up. Moving from left to right, we're going to go to that second dip switch and we are going to flip it into the down position. This sets the protocol up for connecting to the LV hub. Now that we have that connected, all we're going to do is take our battery to inverter communication cable. We're going to plug that battery side into the A can of the master battery, and then the inverter side into port number 1 on our combiner hub. Now that that's taken care of, we are ready to turn on that combiner hub. We just do that by flipping this switch. Now we're going to wait a second for it to turn itself on. It gives us a beep. It's powering up. And now we look at the status light. It's blinking green. And in this case, since we have 2 batteries, our indicator light is here at 2. Now, these indicator lights here are in binary form. So if I have 3 batteries hooked up, it's not going to show 2. I believe it is going to show 4. And that's just something that needs to be referenced in the manual that comes with the combiner hub. That is how you make sure that all of your batteries are in communication, that you're actually utilizing everything in that stack. So now that that's taken care of, all that's left to do is for us to then reference the servo device. I don't have one pulled out in this video, but what you would do is you'd go in and you would see the list of devices listed on the Victron main page. You would click on that, show Pylontech battery. We're going to go into there and then we're going to go into details. And in that detail menu, it'll tell you every battery that is connected. And you should be able to confirm that in this case, it would be 4. 4 batteries are connected. If you have 96, the 96 batteries are connected in communication. Now, we're going to then come back to the fact that I update the firmware on every single one of these hubs that comes through Intelligent Controls. Because if that firmware update hasn't been applied to the most recent one, then that details tab may not show up on your Victron system. In which case, get in contact with us and I'll walk you through the process of updating this LV hub. So that is all it takes to set up this low voltage hub. Now let's talk a little bit about why we want to go through this process in the first place. Why not just have 16 sets of individual batteries hooked up to your inverter? Well, first of all, we want everything to aggregate to one spot. All of the alarm codes, all of the temperatures, all of the status updates from the batteries on the same servo device. This way, when you need to check things remotely, you can log into VRM and see everything in one spot for every single battery connected. The second reason is to take advantage of the advanced capabilities of the BMS. Every single one of these batteries has a battery management system in it. The battery management system in the master battery then acts as a systems level manager for every battery underneath it. This BMS is actively monitoring every single battery. It is checking its status, it's checking its throughput, it's seeing what power it can actively give and receive right now at this moment, and it is compensating for any inefficiencies put into the system by different wire lengths. So if we had our stack of 16 batteries, and for some reason, because it's just an oversized system, I only had one set of end runs, that's fine. It is going to compensate for all of those batteries in the middle of the stack to make sure that they actually come up and down at the same time. And when you're using 96 batteries all connected in parallel, that is just that much more opportunity for something to go wrong and for that active balancing to need to kick in with that BMS to make sure that your system never goes down. If it's set up properly, you probably will never know that one battery got too cold and shut off, because the system's going to continue taking care of itself, and it's just going to be a little note that's going to pop up in your VRM box when you check later in the week. If you're interested in reading a little bit more about this active management that the Pylontech BMS is doing, there is a link to view that article on our website below. Check that out. If you have any questions whatsoever, post them in the comments section or shoot me an email at mike@icmontana.com. I also have a written out guide to setting up these batteries that I put together myself. I am happy to share that with anybody that wants it and to answer any questions that might pop up in setting up these batteries. Thanks for joining us. Hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next video.